Hi, I'm Jay Fallon. Thank you for listening to The Slippery Slope. So listen, I don't think I've ever really spoken about this subject at all in the couple of years I've been doing this podcast. I've wanted to, but it's a little too strange, and to be honest, I didn't want to put my foot in my mouth. But anyway, look, this story has popped up again. I feel like I have to talk about it. And it's to do with old Jeffrey Epstein. The story that's come up is with the his ex partner, girlfriend, whatever she was, business partner, partner in crime, pedophile, enabler, sex trafficker. She anyway, all those things. She's popped up in the news again because there's been a couple of interviews that have come out with her. One of them is talking about. She says that she believes Epstein was murdered. And another headline says that, it's titled "My Dear Andrew, Convicted Sex Trafficker Ghislaine, I don't know how you pronounce the name, don't care. Maxwell gives a bombshell interview." So, listen, let's run through this together. I'm going to share my thoughts. I've always thought it was a little strange, to be honest. First things first, we'll go through the dear Andrew and what she thinks here about Prince Andrew, which I think it is quite interesting actually. So this headline, as I says "My Dear Andrew, Convicted Sex Trafficker, Maxwell gives bombshell interview." So Ghislaine, I don't know how you pronounce the name. I've never looked it up. I don't care enough, I don't think. She's spoken out for the first time from jail about her dear friend, in quotation marks, Prince Andrew, in a world exclusive interview from the prison where she is serving 20 years for trafficking teenage girls. She says she confessed, "I feel so bad for him." Now, she never says anything. She doesn't seem to apologize to any of the girls who she was involved in sex trafficking, but she feels bad for Prince Andrew. Go figure. So, yeah, she goes on to say, "I follow what is happening to him." Maxwell, who's 60, appeared shaken when told the prince's lawyers had claimed they were never close before adding sadly, "I accepted that this friendship could not survive my conviction. He is paying such a price for the association. I consider him a dear friend. I care about him." Now, she has gone on to say that it goes on in this article, it says that it comes as the Duke of York struggles to rescue his image in the face of hostile public opinion. In two explosive interviews, one of which will be conducted face to face, Maxwell even told how she is now convinced Prince Andrew, or I don't think he's Prince anymore, is a victim of faked evidence. She also spoke for the first time of her close friendships with the former US President Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, and her association with the greatest regret of my life, pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. My goodness. Anyway, goes on to say, speaking for the first time since her arrest in 2020, Maxwell talked of her regrets over her association with billionaire financier and sex abuser Epstein, claiming it had turned her into a wicked witch. I'm not sure if her association turned her into a wicked witch. Maybe her actions of actually organizing young girls and trafficking young girls. Maybe that is what. It's not her association, it's her actions that turned her into a monster, or being viewed as a monster. And she revealed she longs to turn back the clock. Well, you can't. She goes on to say that "I said in my court statement that meeting Epstein was the greatest mistake of my life. And obviously, if I could go back today, I would." Andrew was not the only friend she lost over the links to the tycoon. Who was found dead in his cell, aged 66, in 2019. Former US President Bill Clinton, who traveled on the tycoon's Lolita Express private jet, was another relationship she valued. Okay, so I want to give a couple of opinions here. For one, I always thought it was very, very strange that out of everyone, all the people that we saw that he was friends with, Jeffrey Epstein, I thought it was very strange that he was the only one who they were chasing. There wasn't anyone else. He, out of all this big syndicate apparently of people, and all those other people, they were just mere bystanders, Prince Andrew, if it's true, if it's not a fake photo, as she says, or even Bill Clinton, who apparently had multiple trips over to the island, and on his private jet, and just never happened to, you know where I'm going. Is that what they're saying? Is that honestly? And we're all supposed to believe that. So now she's saying that she believes that Prince Andrew, okay, it's all fake. This photo is fake. And she says later on that she can't remember ever Prince Andrew meeting that young girl in the photograph, the infamous photograph of him and this girl. Got to remind you too that Maxwell, I believe she's English. She has a lot of ties with the monarchy. She is caught up. Her family's got a lot of ties with the aristocrats in Britain. So, is there any chance at all that this is all about Prince Andrew reaching out and seeing if he can clear his name? Do you think there's any deals being done under the table? So I reckon there probably was. Okay. So the second story I want to read, and it's about the same thing again. And this is what she has to say about Epstein. She says, this headline, Epstein was murdered, she's claiming. Just a heads up, I believe straight up that Epstein was murdered. From the very first time that report came out that he died, and I was reading about it, I thought there is no way he killed himself. It's just not. It's so implausible. It's ridiculous. So she claims her pedophile former lover, Epstein, was murdered in jail. The disgraced socialite offered no apology to the billionaire's victims, instead peddling a conspiracy theory. So it's a conspiracy theory. It's a very plausible theory over how he met his death. The Sun has reported Epstein was found dead in his New York cell in 2019 while awaiting a sex trafficking trial. The authorities say he took his own life, but Maxwell disagrees. Asked if she thought he had committed suicide, she replied, "No, I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered." Yeah, no joke, he was murdered. So listen, I'm going to read something else and just explain my why I think he was murdered, okay? Just personal opinion. This is why I think he was murdered. And I'm going to read some information. This all comes from Wikipedia, but I'm only reading, I wouldn't normally read out Wikipedia stuff, but it's just that it's all kind of in one place there. This information is everything else I've read in other places, and they've just put it all in one. So it seems it's very legit. Let's put it that way, this information. And then I'm going to explain why I don't think he committed suicide. I think he was murdered. So it says here that on August 10, 2019, guards found the American financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein unresponsive in his Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York jail cell, where he was awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. After prison guards performed CPR, he was transported in cardiac arrest to the New York downtown hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 6:39 a.m. So further down it says, after initially expressing suspicion, Attorney General William Barr described Epstein's death as, quote, a perfect storm of screw-ups. Now, that's probably an understatement like you would not believe. A perfect storm of screw-ups. There is, you can accept something going wrong and say, well, that's just a bit of a coincidence. Maybe two things going wrong. Oh, it's a bit bizarre. But there's that many things that went wrong, and you sit there going, surely this can't all just be a bizarre storm of screw up. Surely this has got to be, there is a human hand behind this. There is something behind this that has been orchestrated. This is not just, anyway, keep going. He says both the FBI, trustworthy people, and the Department of Justice's Inspector General that conducted investigations into the circumstances of his death, the guards on duty were later charged with multiple counts of record falsification. Many public figures accused the Federal Bureau of Prisons of negligence. Of course, it's because they were negligent. Several lawmakers called for reforms to the federal prison system. In response, Barr removed the Bureau's director. As a result of Epstein's death, all charges against him were dismissed. The funny thing is, too, that no one else, they didn't go in. There's not much of an investigation into all those other people, all those photographs, all the other people we know went to the island, who apparently they were just holidaying, and it was only Epstein that was having sex. It was only him that was engaging in all these massages and pedophilia. That was only him. Bill Clinton, no, he wasn't. He just holidayed. He was swimming by the pool. Prince Andrew, he wasn't even there. It's a fake photo. All the other people, Bill Gates, he would have definitely he'd be using the solarium. He's in the sauna. There's no way he participated in any kind of sexual activity. No way. Anyway, so due to violations of normal jail procedures on the night of Epstein's death, the malfunction of two cameras in front of his cell, and his claims to have compromising information about powerful figures. So, his death generated speculation and conspiracy theories about the possibility that he was murdered. Other theories claimed his death was feigned. So when it starts talking about his actual death on this page, it says, when Epstein was placed into the security housing unit, the jail informed the Justice Department that he would have a cellmate and that a guard would look into the cell every 30 minutes. These procedures were not followed on the night he had died. Now, of course, Jeffrey Epstein was one of the most wanted people in the whole world, if not the most wanted person in America. And he was jailed in a very top level security jail, and yet it just so happens that the cameras went down and the so-called professional guards didn't check his cell every 30 minutes like they were supposed to. I've only done very limited work. I've never worked in a jail cell, but I did very limited work in watch houses because I was before I was in a specialist operations. I was in a small town with a small watch house. And mate, you have to go, if you have prisoners in your watch house, you have to check them consistently. You have to write down when you're checking them. You can't just be blasé about it. I think ours was every 15 minutes, maybe every 30. It's a long time ago I did that kind of work. But, you weren't just, you can't just forget about these people. And heck, if the cameras aren't down, you are not going to be negligent and not do a walk around. You're going to report that thing. If the cameras are down, you're basically sitting outside their cell, really checking them constantly. This whole thing about the guards just fell asleep. It says later on the guards fell asleep for several hours. So just coincidence that the two cameras outside of his cell went down, so no one could see. The guards who were supposed to be checking his cell every 30 minutes just didn't bother. They just went to sleep. The most wanted man, one of the most wanted people in the world, who was caught at a very high-level secure jail, prison, whatever you want to call it, in America. Multiple failures. But hey, it's all just coincidence. It's just So previously to this part, okay, at 1:27 a.m. on July 23rd, 2019, Epstein was found semi-conscious in his cell with injuries to his neck. Now, prison officials questioned his cellmate, who, is obviously a delicate little flower, multiple murderer and drug conspiracy suspect, Nicholas Tartaglione. He denied harming Epstein. Could you imagine how that conversation goes? Hey, Nicholas, did you do anything to Epstein to harm him? No, 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 no. Look, he wanted to know how to tie this around his neck, so I showed him how to tie it nice and tight. And then he wanted to know how he could, maybe try and hang himself. So I just gave him a little helping hand, but that's because he wanted to know. I didn't do anything to help harm him. I was just trying to help him on his way. So, so of course, he denied. Oh, so an internal prison investigation cleared Tattaglione of any connection to the event. So of course, no one was trying to kill him. Nothing suspicious was happening at all. And then later on, obviously, he was found dead. A couple of in August 9, he was actually found dead. So there's a few discrepancies. It says down here, it says that Epstein's death was the first death ruled a suicide at the MCC in 14 years. Just so happens to be one of the most wanted people in the world. Michael Baden in 60 Minutes questioned whether Epstein, who was almost 6 foot or 1.8 meters and weighed 185 pounds, which is about 84 kilos, could have been able to hang himself from the lower bunk. Photos taken after the death also show bottles and medicine standing upright on the top bunk. Baden also questioned why Epstein did not use other materials available in his cell, such as wires and tubing from a sleep apnea machine, which was stronger and longer. Listen, as I said, I don't believe for a second that Epstein killed himself. It just does not seem plausible. It doesn't seem plausible at all to hang yourself. I've seen people try to hang themselves from a very small, very low position, and it just doesn't work out well. You can choke yourself for sure, but the injuries that were caused to Epstein's neck, they're the kind of injuries that you need a lot of power, a lot of thrust to get behind and do that kind of damage to your neck. You could choke yourself. If it was just a matter of choking and hanging there while he choked, I'd say, yeah, okay, you could do that. But the injuries that he sustained, that can't happen by yourself from such a low point. Okay. And like I said, the cameras in a high security jail like that, and the cameras go out, and then the guards just happen to fall asleep for several hours. Just happened to fall asleep for several hours. Too many coincidences. Too many. And now, Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is, she's out there saying, hey, old mate was murdered. It's a big conspiracy theory. And Prince Andrew, he's innocent. I can't remember. I don't remember. Does anyone think any of this is suspicious? Maybe there's someone at the Royals, maybe a newly minted king, maybe. Maybe he's turning a few cogs in the background, greasing a few palms, saying, hey, what do you reckon this could happen? Maybe we can make it that Maxwell, she's got 20 years, but maybe we could see good behavior. We could hide her away somewhere and she'll be out in 5 years, maybe. Do you think that's possible? I don't believe for a second that Prince Andrew was innocent. That's my first thing. I don't believe for a second that Jeffrey Epstein was the only one. I think former President BC and computer genius BG and all those other people that are photographed, they weren't there holidaying, swimming in the pool, getting a few sun rays. They were partaking in what they're partaking in. And I don't believe for a second that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. He was murdered. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think it's that hard to fathom. And the fact that they treat us like idiots and then still call it a conspiracy theory. But hey, that's all just my opinion. I think it's very strange that this Maxwell chick is out now, spruiking her story. There's a lot more to this, I think, but that's my opinion on what's gone down. Please let me know what you think. Am I tripping? You reckon it's all just true? It's just big coincidences? Nothing else to see here. No one else involved in this sex trafficking ring. It was all just him and Maxwell. Yeah, no, that's my opinion. Let me know what you think. Thank you for listening to The Slippery Slope.